Welcome to Destination Dive. I'm Kerry Sanders. Today, we're at the Moorings Village on Islamorada, only 83 miles south of Miami. Here, the vibe on land is laid back, while offshore, the world's third largest barrier reef invites us to gently slip into the water for some remarkable dives. Then, we'll discover something older than dinosaurs. And get this, eco-tourists, it's right there on every dive, if you know where to look. And we'll meet a tiny friend with an unparalleled power when it comes to coral reef restoration. By the way, Islamorada in Spanish, got its name from early Spanish explorers who were mesmerized by the purple sunsets here. When you imagine shipwrecks scattered off the coast of the Florida Keys, your imagination likely jumps straight to this: emeralds and gold. But down here, lying quietly beneath the seabed, is a very different kind of treasure: our untold histories. And uncovering it takes a special breed of explorer. We are down deep with the nonprofit Diving with a Purpose. Their motto: restoring our oceans and preserving our heritage.
We have a tremendous maritime history here in the Florida Keys. Thousands of vessels have wrecked on the reef, but it can be difficult to tell their stories. And so, working with Diving with a Purpose, we bring a team into the field and map the shipwreck to reveal its history.
But before these volunteers ever strap on a tank, the work begins right here in the classroom.
Angled closer than D1 was.
This will not be just a casual swim around a sunken ship.
Ball and socket type situation in the front of something, and then
These divers are training to become underwater detectives.
We are documenting wreck sites. We are examining artifacts. We are measuring them. We are sketching them underwater, and we are orienting them as to where they are positioned against a baseline and also in relationship to each other.
Once under the waves, it's a meticulous process. Teams use a complex technique to map exactly where each piece of the shipwreck sits on the seafloor. It's painstaking work to piece together wooden vessels that have been broken apart by the ocean, in some cases for more than 100 years.
It takes a bit of precision. You don't have to be a mathematician either, but have some basic understanding of mathematics and geometry. It will be a benefit for sure.
Every artifact, from wood planking to ship rigging, is a puzzle piece that uncovers a hidden past. For lead instructor Kamal Siddiqui, unearthing that historical record is a deeply personal mission. Diving with a Purpose focuses heavily on finding and documenting ships lost during the global transatlantic slave trade, investigating what many consider one of the greatest crimes against humanity.
We have a particular niche, right? There was some 12,000 ships that was involved in the enslavement of African people. But we only know about a tiny fraction of those, something like 15. But we know very little about these ships. Each individual one has incredible stories to tell. So I want to know that heritage. I want to know those stories, because once it's gone, it's gone. We don't have any of them. That story is lost. And so we're not about erasure, we're about preserving and telling these stories.
What's truly remarkable isn't just how they do it, but who is doing it. A newly connected team of divers who have traveled here from across the United States, Costa Rica, and as far away as West Africa. Engineers, students, professionals, unified by a passion for history and science.
We are all respectful of submerged cultural resources and protecting and preserving items and artifacts. So we're not treasure hunters. We're not out there to find things and remove things. We're about setting the historical record.
A history that, in a broad sense, is well known, but with details hidden in plain view in crystal clear waters.
Ultimately, what we want people to learn is to appreciate the heritage that we have here in the waters of the Florida Keys. With so much history, there's so much to learn.
At the bottom of the ocean, a value that is not made of gold, instead
of valuable history made of wood and iron, yet to reveal the enduring untold stories of the people who were enslaved and forced to set sail.
We're in Islamorada, and joining us is Mike Goldberg with Key Dive. Veteran diver, you've been here for decades, so let's talk a little bit about reefs and wrecks. First of all, wrecks. What about the Eagle?
The Eagle, just offshore here. It's one of my favorites. It's a 290-foot wreck. It's been down, I'm going to say in excess of 30 years now. And it is home to schools of Goliath grouper. We get occasional reef sharks and bull sharks and tiger sharks. It's kind of surprising when you get in the water there. You never know what you're going to see. It teems with life. It's a favorite spot of ours, one we go to regularly.
Novice divers comfortable there?
Not necessarily a novice dive site. It typically doesn't have a lot of current though, so if you're concerned about depth, that could be a trouble spot for you because we're getting down to about 110 feet. But putting depth aside, I don't really consider it too advanced. Generally speaking, it's a pretty easy dive.
And your favorite reef?
My favorite reef here in Islamorada, Alligator Reef. No question. It has the most marine life of any site that we dive.
Is that area protected?
Yes, it is a protected area. There's no fishing allowed, there's no taking of anything. And boy, you can tell that it's protected. Some of the most memorable dives I've had here are at Alligator Reef. Wonderful, wonderful experiences we've had there with eels and sharks and rays, and I've probably logged 1,000 dives there, and it's easily my favorite.
What is your imagination like when you finally get down there, you're away from the world, all you hear are your bubbles, and you're looking at this just glorious color?
Oh, well, that's diving in general for me. So when I started diving, the very first time I hit the water, the magic that occurred when I put my face in the water, descended to the bottom, I knew that I was having a life-changing experience. Alligator Reef, which is one of my favorite, it does that just about every time I go in the water.
And so many people who come down here are looking for that same experience. I guess it's hard to be disappointed?
Yeah. I mean, listen, when you're coming to the Keys and wherever you're from, and you make it out to the reef here, and it's literally buzzing, teeming with marine life, that's what it's all about for the person that lives up in New York City is looking to get away. That's a great experience.
And if you want to get more than one reef dive in, what would be another proximate spot you might recommend?
That's a really good question. So one of my favorite sites here is a site called Rocky Top. It's near and dear to my heart because it is probably, now I can say this without a doubt, it is the most biodiverse site that we dive. The coral growth there is tremendous. The sponge growth there is tremendous. And I'm a coral geek anyway, so when you get both of those in place, that brings in the marine life, from the small critters all the way up to the big. So when we look for a diverse site, a biodiverse site, Rocky Top has it all.
Last advice, which I think most people who are diving know, is that we all have a responsibility when we're down there about touching, kicking. Go ahead and give a warning to everybody who's jumping in.
Yes, please. Think about others when you're out there. Think about the next person that's going to be diving. Make sure that your gear, when you're diving, is tucked in. You have all of your gauges clipped on. You have a good neutral position in the water. Your fins are not kicking the reef, because others that will be coming after, they want to have that same beautiful experience. And so be mindful of your body in the water for the sake of others.
Thanks, Mike. And one of the things to really always keep in mind is your fins are a lot longer than your toes and your feet. So when you're kicking, think about that extra foot, 18 inches between you and the coral and the sea fans. Like Mike says, you don't want to cause any damage. We'll be right back.
nearly 26 feet down at Captain Arno's Reef. And no, divers here are not planting coral. Here in the Florida Keys, this is a first of its kind anywhere. Marine biologists with eye care, along with volunteer citizen scientists, are planting sponges. It's never happened until now because most scientific attention was focused on corals, not the disappearing sponges. Lead researcher Bobby Renfro-Price, PhD, says sponges in all their brilliant colors and glory are so often the unsung heroes of the coral reef. To visualize how a living sponge works, a diver squirts non-toxic dye at the base, and look at that. The sponge instantly filters it through its canal system.
The water was incredibly clear today. Do I give credit to the sponge?
You should. They are the filter of the reef. So the reef has these plankton in the water that are the size of bacteria. I mean, they are really tiny. And if there is a lot of nutrients in the water, those will bloom, they'll cloud out the water. It won't be this crystal clear, beautiful water that you're seeing now. The sponges are the ones that eat those bacteria and those tiny algae out of the water. So they really are keeping the water crystal clear.
But like corals, which are sensitive to climate change, so too are sponges. Just as corals bleach and die, so too do some sponges. And sponges not only filter the water, they often are what binds the billions of pieces of broken yet still living coral to the reef, so those bits don't wash away in strong currents or storms.
The sponges, that's what really catches people's eye. Like, that's where the
Pre-dive classes for citizen scientists reveal how even the smallest piece of a sponge multiplies. That cloud when a sponge is squeezed are individual cells, and then nature's magic trick.
and they grow perfectly fine, even from just a little fragment. If we were able to do that, you could cut off my hand and grow another Bobby over there.
But planting sponges first grown in a lab is a challenge. There's been years of trial and error to get sponges from here, attached to broken bits of coral, to then stay in place to grow on the reef. Like trying to glue a pot holder to a wooden backsplash. Down here, microscopic twig algae prevents a secure grip, which is why a topside class is critical.
So I'll give this to you, and you can basically brush in any sort of pattern that you want. Nothing too hard. If you start seeing the metal bristles come up, it means you're scrubbing too hard.
And I'm scrubbing the surface.
Scrubbing the surface. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our hammer, you're gonna take this side of it, we're just gonna scrape back and forth, gentle.
Those bristles gone.
We want the bristles gone.
Because
They don't really like the epoxy.
I discovered it all adds up once you're down here. The epoxy, which feels like Play-Doh, holds and then hardens once that algae is brushed away.
how did I do on the planting?
You did amazing. You rocked it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm fishing for that answer.
No, you were great. You had good buoyancy. You were aware of your surroundings. You did all of the steps very cleanly. It was great. You were a great diver.
And if we came back 2-3 years from now, what do you think that would look like?
Well, you might not see the skeletons anymore because the sponges would hopefully cover it and be grabbing onto other things around it.
Sponges, one of the critical building blocks on threatened reefs. Hard to believe that today, sponges need human help because of how long they've endured.
How old are sponges?
So sponges are the most ancient of the animal tree of life, so they're the basis of all other animal life on Earth, metazoan life on Earth.
So like as old as dinosaurs?
Yeah, even older than dinosaurs. So we're talking
Older.
like dinosaurs, earliest dinosaurs are gonna be 250 million years ago. Earliest sponges, we're thinking at least 600 million years old, and we're continuing to find new fossils in the fossil record.
So they are the survivors.
They are the survivors of all of the different mass extinctions that we've seen on Earth, and we're trying to make sure that they keep surviving here on the reef.
Sponges may predate dinosaurs, but they are still being studied. One sponge found here off of Islamorada has helped researchers create a synthetic compound that is used today to treat leukemia. Yay for the sponges, as Bobby would say. We'll be right back.
Just a short distance off the coast near Key Largo lies a success story.
1, 2, 3.
Here, the sweet spot is just 20 to 30 feet down in the water column that fluctuates between 72 and 88 degrees. Ideal conditions to engineer a productive artificial coral nursery. 5-foot to 20-foot rope lines, like oversized necklaces, give viable corals a purchase to grow, and flourish they do indeed. In about a year, the brain and star corals branch out from the size of a dime to the size of a lime. At first, the numbers grown here may sound astounding. Tens of thousands of corals propagated a year.
There's not a lot of people that have been doing this as long as I have.
But after more than 2 decades at this, Ken Niedermeyer says it's not enough.
We're growing and planting, 40,000, 30,000 corals a year, but the need is millions of corals.
Ken says his hands-on experience growing corals, bringing them up, putting them in oxygenated tanks, later transplanting corals onto living reefs. After all that, even with several 100,000 planted in the Keys and the Caribbean, Ken has reached a painful conclusion. Water-based nurseries like these have limits.
It's harder to find people that can get in there and work effectively. You're underwater in 20 or 30 feet of water. You can't really communicate. If I took you down or took somebody down and they were diving with me and I wanted them to do a certain thing, I can't just tell them what to do. You have to do all that ahead of time and then go down there, and then always you get down there and say, oh yeah, I forgot to tell them not to do that, So it's a lot of work. It's very difficult. It's hard to find qualified divers. It's hard to find the days to do it. You have a very limited amount of time you can be down each day. You get cold in the winter. Just a whole bunch of things working against you all the time.
What if, Ken wondered, the corals were grown at scale on a farm? 300 miles away in Ruskin, Florida, Ken and his team have done just that. Tanks filled with 20 different species, more than 1,000 genetic strains, and importantly, they're grown from corals that survived the 2023 devastating marine heat wave, making them super corals.
And not to overstate this, there is a crisis, in many cases, functionally extinct.
Yeah, and all the rest of these corals are heading that direction too if we don't intervene.
And here, instead of divers constantly brushing algae off corals to stimulate growth, a skeleton staff monitors Mother Nature, taking on that labor-intensive job.
So if you look in our tanks, we've got all these little fish swimming around. There's a bunch of little fish right there. We found that these little sailfin mollies, they live in ditches down in the Florida Keys in fresh water. They can be adapted to live in salt water, and they're just like obsessive about eating algae. So
they're doing the cleaning for you?
All of the cleaning for us. The fish and these little snails, they do all the work for us. So we don't clean in here at all. So we can put 100,000 corals in here and have maybe one person look at them occasionally, but the fish are just like doing their job.
At sea, 80% of the time is spent attending to the health of the corals, often with brushes. Only 20% of the time is spent planting. But a coral farm with hungry fish turns everything upside down.
We can flip that around so that it's 20% of the time cleaning and maintenance and 80% of the time planting corals. And if we can do that, we can totally change the impact we're having.
The teams are breeding corals with a recognized genetic makeup to withstand ever-warming ocean waters. The plan, eventually plan out there upwards of 100,000 corals from that farm. I'm Kerry Sanders with underwater cameraman and executive producer Mike Zimmer. Join us again for Destination Dive.